My name is Emily, 24, and I've been with my boyfriend Lucas, who is 20-9, for 7 years. Our children are 2 beautiful ones. 3-year-old Ethan and 6-month-old Ava. From the time Lucas and I sat down to talk, it was like a scene out of a film. The day we met, we got smitten. It should be unbreakable love of that sort, for me at least. This is partly why I found it so hard to look back on all of this and never give up. In all fairness, Lucas was always into me getting in the way. Not the little things, but the feeling that he is not interested, even though he claims to be. Sometimes I feel like I don't exist. I can be sitting there and talking to him and he'll be finished. I have never judged anything against my intuition, and if it says something is wrong, I take it up on it. Alas, there have been days when I was dead on. Back in 2021, at the time of Ethan's birth, I had the worst bout of postpartum depression. I was someone new inside my body. Added to this, I was doing all the baby work. Lucas never woke up at night to babysit. A night he did it, and it went bad. He said I thought everything was crazy, put Ethan in his swing, and stormed away screaming at me for waking him up. That night I was so broken and alone I needed to call my mom to stay with me at 6 in the morning because I had not slept a wink. Ethan would not go to sleep, and every time I tried to fall asleep I was afraid something would happen. Lucas offered me zero support. He was in love with Ethan, I knew, but it was as if he had no concern for me. 2 months later things turned dark. We both contracted COVID-19. Lucas was in the bedroom, I was on the couch with the baby. I pulled out Lucas's iPad the other night so I could get some shows on without Ethan freaking out. I was scrolling when I saw some messages from Lucas and Tyler, his friend. They were referring to OnlyFans, some Twitter accounts, even sending groping photos. My heart dropped. Not mere guys talk. Tyler had sent nudes to Lucas, and he was looking for tips or feedback. I was crushed. I confronted Lucas right there and then, even though he was sick. He said sorry, that he would delete everything and it wouldn't be the same again. I listened to him against my better judgment. I just wanted our family to be okay. But the agony of that loss never went away. Any battle we went into since, I thought about those messages. Even in those cases, I would even mention them, even if I knew it would make things worse. We moved away for Lucas's job, about 100 miles, and then we went away again. We were at each other's throats all the time, and somehow he always finished the argument by pointing fingers at me for our debts. It was exhausting. We got a little settled after a while, and then I fell pregnant with Ava. Lucas was ecstatic, but the fights resumed. Sometime he even said I cheated and Ava was not his baby. He later returned it, but by then my gut was screaming that something wasn't right. The pregnancy was tough. I was suffering from morning sickness, mania, and anxiety, and we couldn't be friends. Lucas's mood was unpredictable. Some days he was sassy and responsive, but other days it was like he hated me for even being here. I became like I was on eggshells in front of him. I stayed up late at night wondering if I was to blame, when in reality I knew it wasn't. I was working all the way to keep our family together, and it looked like he was just waiting for a day off. I tried telling myself it would all be alright after Ava was born. I thought maybe the pregnancy itself was taking its toll on us both. But after she was born, nothing improved. All the baby work was again on my shoulders, with Lucas more at arm's length than ever. He said he was worn out from work, but so was I. It is not a walk in the park to be a mom of a toddler and a newborn, and it felt like he didn't even care if I was frantic. When we did talk about our relationship on a few occasions, Lucas would tell me I was too sentimental, too sensitive, and too demanding. He would make me admit to every one of my own errors, big or small. I was the one destroying our family, the one that could do better. I tried to be better. I was trying to be kind and patient, but I was fucking out. My affection for him was being replaced by apathy. But it got even darker a few days ago. Our son Ethan was playing with Lucas's phone. When I went to get it from him, I saw something and my heart just skipped a beat. Somehow, Ethan had opened Twitter. Here was Lucas's second version on the screen. It wasn't your average social media account. It was awash in pornography of Lucas. Others were of him alone, but also Tyler and him, naked. My hands started shaking. I opened his profile and saw references to an OnlyFans account and Chatterbait profile. Felt sick, so I screenshotted everything and put it on my phone. I didn't let him delete it all this time and play it safe. When I had all the evidence, I met with him. I didn't fight it, but my voice trembled like, "So is this what you guys do when you go out?" He turned blue and his eyes got dark for the first time in my life. He looked defeated. He admitted to a problem and didn't want to lose me or the children. A part of me hated him, a large part of me was just mad. I told him I was done. I said I was going to leave, but I am here still in this house with him. Why haven't I gotten out yet? I don't know. Maybe it is the fear of losing the life we had built or the family relationship with his side of the family. Or maybe I am still in the pit of my stomach, clinging to the one we shared first. I'm confused, hurt, and a bit meh right now. I should be more devastated, but maybe I just got so used to it from hurting so long. I ask myself again and again, should I leave? Am I just throwing these 7 years away? So do I give therapy a go and try to sort it out? A part of me needs to defend our family, but a part of me wants to be loved, respected, and safe. He doesn't say he loves me very often. Sometimes I even believe that he doesn't even love me. And then the little bug that is hanging on my chin says, "Is he gay? And what does all this amount to?" I don't know what to do. I am so helpless. So any suggestions are welcome. The weeks after that fight were scattered. It was as if I was running in the mist, pretending all was well for Ethan and Ava. And then I just couldn't keep up when Lucas looked at me in that guilty/frightened way. He didn't want to look like he'd moved on, but I could see that he was on eggshells now. I liked it when he was not feeling well. It was as if, for the first time, he got me. I scrolled through all the screenshots I had saved to my phone for hours and relived our relationship as many times as I could. All the lies he had said, all the fights where he pushed me down, it all came back like a floodwater. I had a memory of the first years of our relationship, when we'd both been up all night and laughed about nothing at all. Where was that old version of him? Was it ever real, or had I been fucking myself all along? The next morning, Lucas's apology arrived. He had woken up early, he's never done that, and prepared the kids' breakfast. I watched him, crouching by the kitchen door, heartbroken. He put the plates down, and then he looked up at me with a look I'd not seen before. Almost as if he'd forgotten. "I was wrong, Emily." He was less audible than usual. "I'm sorry for everything. I'll make this right if I have to." I wanted to believe him. And I wanted to think the guy I had loved so many years before was still out there and waiting. But how many times had I heard the same thing? So many times had he told me he would, and then I was here, back here, crushed and invisible. So I was silent and stared at him and let the silence speak for me. His face fell and he walked off, muttering something out loud that I didn't bother to listen to. Lucas was able to grind out a few days, and he did it harder than I ever had seen him. He vacuumed, played with Ethan, even took Ava out for a walk so I had an hour to myself. I would have been glad, but I got mad. Why was it so long after I threatened to go away for him to become a father and a husband? I was like a figment of his imagination, like he was doing it for show, not because he really did love me or our family. That night I phoned my sister, Chloe. She was always the one I'd enlisted for tips on Lucas. She never liked him, and half of me hated that she could have been right all along about him. "I know what you've got to do, Emily," she said as soon as I mentioned the Twitter account, the OnlyFans, and the Chatterbait profile. "You've given him chance after chance. How many more are you going to make before you realize he's never going to change?" She gave me the kick in the gut. I thought she was right, but talking about it in my head made it real in a way I wasn't expecting. "I know, Chloe," I squeaked. "I know, but it's not like that. We've built a life together. We have kids. I can't just walk away." "You can't just go away," she said. "But you can walk to something better." I heard them long after we hanged up. And I didn't sleep that night. I was lying in bed looking up at the ceiling and thinking about things. I went on and on with all these what ifs and should I's ever since. And what if I went and was sorry? What if I stayed and it wasn't different? What if I was too broken to be happy whatever I did? I thought of Ethan and Ava, about how I wished they could have it. Did I want my daughter to learn it was okay for a man to do that to her? Was this okay with women, I thought. The solution was obvious, but it didn't make it any more so. The following day I got to work on it. I googled single mother support groups, apartment listings, and support groups in our area. I did not know if I wanted to go, but I wanted to be prepared if I did. I even set up an email address for a hidden account where I could save critical information and Lucas wouldn't know about it. Each incremental action made me feel a little bit stronger, and I started reclaiming my life more and more. Lucas would have known a thing or two had changed, as he began to question more. "What are you doing on your phone 24/7? He said one night when we were watching TV. "Just playing with things," I said, "not more than that." I could feel it through him, and for once I was happy. I wanted him to feel like I had for years. Its subsequent weeks were fraught. Lucas tried to go right back to his pre-Mad Max days and act like he didn't have anything to lose. But each time he cursed at me or told me I didn't feel good, I knew I was leaving because I was going to get out. I wasn't going to forget this time. He saw me flicking through my phone one night while I was bathing Ava. When I came in the room, he hobbled like a child with his hand in the cookie jar. "What are you doing?" Shrug. "Nothing," he said too quickly. "Just looking for the time." I didn't buy it. I got that old familiar anger up again. "It tells me more about you than it does about me if you have to hide and go check my phone," I said and walked away. That's what broke me, I wish I could say, but it didn't. And then some weeks of planning in silence, lulling Chloe into bed at night, and cries of misgivings followed before I finally decided what I was going to do. The shock of it all came on a whim one Wednesday night. Lucas had been out with Tyler, and he was smellin' beer. Ethan ran over to meet his dad, but Lucas barely looked up. He instead went straight to the kitchen, got a beer, and lounged around on the couch scrolling his phone. That was it for me. And I sat there and I saw him, and I saw the man I had struggled to win, and I knew something. But I couldn't change him no matter how much I loved him, no matter how much I wanted him to change. He had to have it, and of course he would never. I woke up, entered the bedroom, and opened the secret email I had set up. I began typing an email to a women's support group I had found in town. I said everything and summoned help. I had a bit of hope for the first time in years. I didn't know where the next step was, but I was done. My part loved Lucas too, but I loved myself and my kids more. I was going to take a walk towards something more, as Chloe said. I did feel the thump of that email. As if, for the first time in years, I was granted permission to fantasize about a better future. The following days I kept quiet but vigilant. I listened to Lucas' every move, every excuse. I felt him feel me changing. I'd be asked by him more often, "Am I fine?" But all I would say was, "I'm fine." I don't think he knew, but he was too afraid to ask. I was on my computer at night reading legal advice and browsing communities where other women had been leaving abusive relationships. Gave me courage. Having heard their accounts made me realize I wasn't alone. I discovered a local service that got women out of toxic relationships. And they had everything from financial counseling to housing on the wings, should I require it. I had their number in my dark email and bookmarked their website. The second was where I would go. I called my sister Chloe, and when she'd heard all this, she pronounced what I had never wanted to hear. "Come stay with me." She was not shy, not one shudder of doubt. She said she'd put me in a spare room and she would get me up. The relief I had then was too much for me to hold the phone and cry. For so long I had tried to go it alone, and now for the first time I didn't have to. I was going to be smart. If I told Lucas I was going to leave, he could try to coerce me out of it. And worse, he could just do things to me. I wasn't too open about my idea, so each day I had an extra purse for the kids that I stuffed into the back of the closet. I pulled out all our files, birth certificates, medical records, anything I'd possibly need for starting over, and slapped them in a file folder in the diaper bag bottom. I could only leave once, and I had to be ready. The nail in the coffin fell on a Friday night. Lucas had said he would be home early to have family night with Ethan and Ava. I had prearranged everything. Ordered pizza, watched a movie, made cookies with Ethan's assistance. But the hours passed and he was nowhere to be found. 2 times I rang him and both calls were logged. By 9 p.m. I put Ethan to bed, wipe away tears because, why didn't Daddy come home? I didn't have a reply for him. I lay beside him on the edge of his bed, brushing his hair, and I cried every time he coughed gently as he fell asleep. It was 11 o'clock, Lucas finally fell in. He smelled of beer and weak cologne. His shirt was scraggly from having been out all night. I watched him from the kitchen, all patience sucked out of me. "Where were you?" I said in a whisper. He shook his head, not even trying to think of a lie. "Out with Tyler," he murmured, taking the next step, the fridge, for another beer. Something inside me snapped. I sat there, pressing my finger against the counter so hard my knuckles became white. This was not love. This was not my life I wanted for my children. I had given him everything and he had rejected it all the time. I knew it was over. The next morning I got up early. I made Ethan and Ava breakfast. Hugs and kisses extra as I announced that we were off on a mission. They laughed, their eyes glistening. I quickly packed up the household, checking everything twice. My chest warmed as I got them in the car, hoping Lucas would fall asleep so we could drive away and not see him. I'd driven to Chloe's house holding the steering wheel until my fingers hurt. Once every couple of minutes I rolled down the windows, half expecting Lucas to follow us. But he never came. The ride was an eternity, but when I arrived in Chloe's driveway, I took a breath that had been stored for years. Chloe was waiting at the door. She stretched out her arms and I ran right into them. And for the first time in years I was at home. Ethan and Ava walked past us, giggles running through their new world. "You did it," Chloe sat next to me whispering. "You're okay." I cried into her shoulder, and cried every pound of hurt and fear I kept cloistered away inside me for so long. I became very used to this for the next several weeks. Chloe put me in touch with a family lawyer and a counselor. I began to apply for jobs and Chloe arranged for me to open a savings account under my name. It wasn't easy and I had days when I wondered if I was doing the right thing. But every night I put Ethan and Ava to bed and looked at their smiles I knew I had. Lucas tried to call. He called and text messaged, in and out of anger and apologies. I did not respond. I had nothing more to tell him. Chloe commanded me to turn down his number, but I was too slow. Part of me, I imagine, wanted to hear him say that he knew he had us lost. And one day he did. "Emily, I did something stupid," he cracked in the last note he left. "Please just come home. We can change this." I deleted the text without listening to the rest. No place to return home to. It was out there already, the kids and I. I remember the life we had some nights. Not the worst, but the best. The memories, the laughter, the love that had felt so real then. It hurts, but then I'm like, love doesn't hurt like that. Love has to be protected, and now it was mine. We were gone 6 months, and I'm at last breathing. Ethan went to preschool, and Ava is crawling everywhere and chases him with giggles in the entire house. Chloe says she is seeing a new side to me. Not the same one she has seen in years. See it too. I don't know what lies ahead, but I know I will rise strong to it. I am not afraid anymore. I am free. And for the first time in a long time I am liberated.